Jake Hager blasts Tony Khan and his AEW run. Plus, WWE are reportedly embarrassed by the promo by Becky Lynch on Raw, and a TNA star made a surprise WWE main roster appearance last night. It's all in the Cultaholic Wrestling news right now. Chris Van Vliet had a chat with Jake Hager. Ross. Exactly.
Play the clip.
Huh?
I assume he did it.
Well, what a spicy chat that was.
He came out all fists are flying, didn't he, Jake Hager?
He really did indeed. So chatting with Chris Van Vliet about how he feels about wrestling since his departure from AEW, he said, I'm very jaded from my exit at AEW. I'm very proud of the stuff I did there, but at the same time, I find myself questioning right now, I wish I would have just stayed in MMA at some point. He went on to talk about his AEW run and had some very pointed comments about one Tony Khan.
I'm not sure how he feels about this, Tom. See what you think after you hear this.
He is very loosey-goosey about how he feels.
He says, Jake Hager, I always find a way to say this every day, so I think everyone should too. Say F Tony Khan. I could tell that he didn't want me there. He offered me a year and a half. I was like, I just did Stadium Stampede twice. Don't act like Stadium Stampede didn't put AEW on the map. I would argue it was already on the map before that one. I was in the debut episode of Dynamite. I was the big spoiler, and you offer me 18 months after all that. So it was that, and the way that he started running the business, that it really, like, it wasn't professional, he goes on to say about Tony Khan.
Yeah, Hager shares an example of Tony Khan's unprofessionalism, one that's been rebooted by at least one of the parties involved, which we'll get to that. He talks about Tony Khan interrupting a boys-only meeting following the CM Punk debacle. He says, Sting's in there, Show, Paul White, Jericho, Bryan, Mox, they're all standing at the front, kind of like talking us through this SH1T. Lo and behold, who comes into the room storming in? Daddy's little billionaire. And he's yelling at us because I think it was Dash and Cash Wheeler who didn't want to come in. They didn't like the storylines, so they refused to come to TV that day. And he was like, listen, I'll put you in a 6-man, 6 minutes before the show, and you're going to do it. And we were all just like feeling disrespected. We became his little playthings. He was taking issue with the fact that he had like someone like Sting in there, you know, a Hall of Famer about to go on this run where he retires, and he's been told, right, you're in a 6-man tag tonight, you got 6 minutes, off you go. Hager talked further about Tony Khan's management style.
Yeah, he says, we had to wait outside his office, his storylines were very good at debuting, but he could never carry anything through, and it got to the point where you couldn't tell him anything. He couldn't take criticism, he was effing up, and we were all just having to deal with it. We all had blood, sweat and tears put into that company, and then we all just had to sit side by side and couldn't do anything because he wanted to run it the way he wanted to run it. God forbid the boss wants to do what he wants to do. The guy whose dad provided all the money, and the guy who signs all the checks and does all the TV deals and whatnot. God forbid he wants to run it his way.
There is that. But it's so Dax Harwood responds to Jake Hager's story about Tony interrupting the meeting, saying, Cash and I were at the all-talent only meeting that was called by Bryan, Jericho and Mox. Tony never interrupted. Cash and I have never refused to show up to work, and I dare to say, if you look at our schedule since Collision started, we are the most consistent talent that make both shows every week. I'm not really sure where all this is coming from, but it's mostly not true. Cash shared a screenshot of a conversation with Hager in which Hager apologises for any issues with retelling the story, but Tony Khan's involvement is not disputed.
It's the use of I think it was Dax and Cash is like, why would you use I think followed by our names? He's like, sorry, I shouldn't have done that. Sorry.
Yeah, but as Dax says, mostly not true. Some of the things that we hear from Jake Hager, well, one, it's very clear that he wasn't a happy chappy in AEW near the end, but you hear similar stories about AEW behind the scenes as well, about how this is very much Tony Khan's ship and he's steering all the creative direction, and also you hear a lot of stories of how it can be a little bit on the fly, a little bit chaotic, backstage in the run-up to shows. You've heard from numerous other sources similar stories to this. So I thought this is Jake Hager speaking what has been reported elsewhere as well, a little bit.
What I would say is, like, the time frame that Jake Hager's speaking about there, especially the latter part of Jake Hager's AEW run, was around about the CM Punk time, and when all the wheels did completely fall off.
That is also very true. I think AEW got themselves into a better shape now than they were in 2022 in terms of that behind the scenes control, but certainly, the wheels fall off is the wonderful way to describe that time period.
You're watching it in 2025 now, and it just feels like we're sort of back to what we were in the first 2 years of the company. You've got the central cast of characters, the storyline-driven stuff for the main players on the show. So I can see where Hager's coming from, obviously, but then again, a lot of what he says there about, it's his show and we had to sit outside his office and all that sort of stuff, just sounds like he's talking about Vince McMahon. He should be used to it, Jake Hager.
Exactly. Jake Hager did have a creative idea for AEW that did not get picked up by the creative team. He says, I feel like the hat could have been way bigger. I mean, if you need the hat to be way bigger, just ask Tom's Customs on Twitter. He'll make the hats massive if you retweet him enough.
Or Xavier Woods knows a good big hat guy.
He knows a really good big hat guy. He said, I pitched an idea and I think this is great. I want to turn it into Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy, where I would say, I like this hat. And everybody in the Jericho Appreciation Society would know what I'm saying.
It writes itself, Tom. He likes this hat. It could mean anything.
I mean, wrestling's the best when it's bollocks, so I'm not mad about it.
He's at the McDonald's drive-thru, he just says to the person serving him, I like this hat. Oh. They know it's a McChicken sandwich meal with some chicken nuggets.
They would have just played off it. Do you know what? I think, all right, I like this hat, I don't like. If he had just said, and you might want to roll the clip again, you're right, Jake. We should invest all our stock on trading 212. Jake Hager's interview with Chris Van Vliet is a fascinating one. You should check that out right now. Now, on Monday Night Raw, it emanated from Birmingham and it upset the Brummies. Becky Lynch made comments about how the only good thing to come out of Birmingham died a month ago. But in fairness to Ozzy Osbourne, says Becky Lynch, he had the good sense to move to LA, a proper city, because if I lived in Birmingham, I'd die too. As a West Midlands boy, I'm glad that we can speak on this a little bit. How can you say Ozzy Osbourne's the only good thing to come out of Birmingham when it is the home of the boss, Les Ross, on BRMB? Thank you very much.
A household name.
He's back tomorrow morning on BRMB. Now, the comment caught the attention of Kelly Osbourne. You guys talked about this a bit yesterday as well, didn't you?
She tagged the fan account on Instagram on her stories, just saying, like, Birmingham wouldn't piss on you, Becky Lynch, if you were on fire. How dare you bring my father's name and his city into your mouth, that kind of thing.
Yeah, Brian Alvarez of The Observer confirms that this is not part of an angle to get Kelly Osbourne involved, and WWE are not happy. He says, quote, I was told WWE is embarrassed, and they're probably going to do an apology. If you look back at how many times WWE has actually apologised for something, it ain't many. There's discussion about doing a public apology. I know they've talked about doing a private apology.
Fair enough. If they didn't clear it with the Osbourne family, just because it's obviously still going to be pretty raw, that entire thing, isn't it?
Bit too soon.
Yeah, so I think, because on one hand, when I saw the thing from Kelly yesterday, I was like, Ozzy and Sharon made a fair few appearances on the wrestling up and down the years. They know what wrestling is. This is them just, reacting to that, maybe feed into the show. But if they didn't clear it with the Osbourne family beforehand, they've got every right to be a little bit peeved.
I would think so as well. WWE are having quite the time in the UK if they're not upsetting people in Birmingham. They are warming hearts in Manchester. Last night at the live event in Manchester, we saw the New Day come unstuck against a brand new tag team. They're against the Viking, the War Raiders, and a brand new tag team, the Manchester Maniacs.
Brought to you by Michael McIntyre.
Yes, so this was unveiled. One of the Manchester Maniacs was unveiled to be Michael McIntyre, the UK comedian and host of Michael McIntyre's Big Show. And believe me, seeing Big Show on the Tron in WWE 2025 threw me through a loop a little bit this morning. It was revealed after this segment that one of the Manchester Maniacs, UK comedian Michael McIntyre, was there with special guests, two young lads by the name of Charlie and Dexter Cross. They were invited into the ring. Charlie contracted sepsis as a young child, and he was saved by the Royal Manchester Children's Hospital. Charlie was there as a special guest to Michael McIntyre. He said his dad couldn't be there because his dad was working. His dad was working all right because Michael McIntyre's tag team partner removed his mask. It was only his dad. Oh, the feels. Oh, the feels. A heartwarming moment, and it was revealed that this will all be on Michael McIntyre's Big Show, and they are going to donate £10,000 to the hospital charity as well.
A lovely story.
It's a lovely story.
It's a nice story.
Seeing Michael McIntyre in WWE. Michael McIntyre. I'm quite posh. I think it's quite funny. Lovely moment. On that same show, there was another surprise for the crowd as The Miz took on a mystery opponent that only turned out to be Joe Hendry.
Yeah, Miz in the ring basically said, everyone on this bloody show's scared of me. Anyone backstage, come on down, fight Miz. And then Joe Hendry appears.
I was hoping it'd be Peter Kay based on how the night was going. Yeah, Joe Hendry took on and defeated The Miz. This is Joe Hendry's first main roster WWE victory.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Because he was in the Rumble and he lost, obvs. He faced Randy Orton at WrestleMania and he lost, obvs. And then he faced...
Is this his first live... Has he just lost all his live event appearances? How many ever
Well, he hasn't. I don't think he's appeared at a WWE live event. He's appeared on NXT television, but he's not appeared at any WWE live events. Yeah. Obviously, if I'm wrong, you will let me know.
I've not checked, so I don't know.
I've half checked, and knowing is half the battle. He's just... we would say this upstairs. He's just a WWE guy now, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. When his contract's up at the end of the year, on start next year, whatever it is, he's signed, sealed, delivered.
He is signed, sealed, delivered, and he is yours. For the very latest wrestling news at any time, you can check out Cultaholic.com. Stay safe.